Every day during GA, I would say something like this. Good morning. My name is Charles Dumond, and I serve as co-moderator of the Unitarian Universalist Association, along with the Reverend Meg Riley. I use he and him pronouns. I am an old white man with gray hair and a gray beard. I'm wearing a black button-down shirt, and the only thing of color are my bright red reading glasses. Meg and I just finished our 4th General Assembly as co-moderators. Next year, a multi-platform GA will combine online participants with on-site participants in Baltimore. Come and join us for our last GA as co-moderators. I share this volunteer position with her, and I would not want to do this any other way. Our time as co-moderators has demanded that we deal with many things, but the revision to Article 2 of our bylaws has consumed so much of these 4 years. We've had a few discussions about Article 2 here at UUSM, and I would describe the response as polite and unconcerned. As a reminder, Article 2 of the UUA bylaws is where the principles and purposes of the organization have been defined. Every 15 years, we are required to review that piece of the bylaws and consider making changes. It's a multi-year process, and this time, the Article 2 Study Commission, the group appointed to do the review, proposed a large revision. Instead of being defined by the 7 principles, which are printed on the inside of the gray hymnal, they suggested we change to using a set of values with love at the center. You have a handout with those values: interdependence, pluralism, justice, transformation, generosity, and equity. But the order really doesn't matter. And some people have started using the acronym JETPIG to help remember justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, independence, and generosity. And others have used JETLPIG with the middle initial L as a reminder that love is in the center. As we approached the vote to make this change, which required a 2/3 majority of the delegates, there was both pain and disrespect. The pain was expressed by people who had made the 7 principles into a kind of creed. They could not imagine their Unitarian Universalism without the 7 principles, even though much of the language of the 7 principles is included in the description of values. The disrespect came from a small but noisy group who hate change and assume the UUA is conspiring against them. They regularly accuse UUA leadership of being authoritarian and think words like accountability are used so they can be punished. So we were not sure how the discussion would go at GA, and we didn't know if the changes would be accepted. We had several other items of business to discuss in GA beyond the changes to Article 2, and I want to highlight 3 others. We had a business resolution entitled Embracing Transgender, Non-Binary, Intersex, and Gender-Diverse People is a Fundamental Expression of UU Religious Values. It concluded with this sentence: we hereby pledge our collective faithful efforts to the full affirmation and celebration of transgender, non-binary, intersex, and gender-diverse people within our congregations and the wider community, and uphold this commitment as a fundamental obligation revealed by our principles and values. While Unitarian Universalists have said similar things in other places, our intention was to have a statement from the General Assembly as we challenge laws and policies that suppress human rights and deny medical care for LGBTQI+ people and communities. The second thing is we had an action of immediate witness, or AIW, entitled Solidarity with Palestinians. An AIW is a statement that calls for immediate action from UUA member congregations and groups in response to a current significant event. AIWs are created by delegates and submitted to the Commission on Social Witness, an independently elected group that does not report to the UUA board or leadership. This AIW called upon UU congregations and communities to be in solidarity with Palestinians by witnessing, educating, organizing, and advocating. And 3, we had a responsive resolution entitled UUA General Assembly Support for October 7 Hostages. A responsive resolution, which I think is unique to our General Assembly, allows for a delegate to submit a resolution in response to a report from a UUA officer or committee. The delegates can vote to adopt it. This responsive resolution concluded with, therefore, be it resolved that the General Assembly of the Unitarian Universalist Association calls for the immediate release of all Hamas-held hostages. Further, the GA of the UUA acknowledges the real suffering of Jews within our association and beyond. There can be no peace and no justice unless it is for all people. So each of those three items also had the potential for harmful language during the live discussion. And we advised people to use care in what they said. We also advised people who might experience pain and harm during the discussion that they did not need to be present or hear it. All voting is now done by ballots at the conclusion of the session, and you have a few hours to vote. You don't have to attend the discussion to vote. Now, you may have this experience. Even people with the best of intentions have a difficult time not causing harm while speaking about transgender, non-binary, intersex, and gender-diverse people. And people without good intentions, well, they're just mean. You may also have experienced this. Discussions of Palestine and Israel often include triggering language, and sometimes that trigger language is used intentionally. So these were difficult discussions, and some people experienced pain and harm. All of these needed 2/3 votes to pass, and this is what they received. The change to Article 2 received support of 80% of the delegates. The business resolution received the support of 92% of the delegates. The AIW received the support of 74% of the delegates, and the responsive resolution received the support of 77% of the delegates. They all passed. And we might have just declared victory and been done. But it was my co-moderator, the Reverend Meg Riley, who said with respect to the Article 2 vote, that's great, but the other 20% need our love and care too. It's not just about winning, it's about keeping our faith community whole. And if you're wondering why this reflection is called serving the 30% instead of serving the 20%, you're right. It's a typo. My apologies. So, how do we keep our faith community whole? Well, let's start with keeping love at the center. Let's speak with one another in loving ways. Let's also invest in the creativity of our religious professionals to keep bringing us together. People have just begun to create curriculum for children, youth, and adults using the framing of the values. I also expect to see more fun things, like jet paint. And people can be reminded that an article in the bylaws does not replace their personal faith statement. It is important to describe, if it is important to describe your beliefs using the 7 principles, then you should continue to do so. So, thank you for this opportunity to describe a little bit about General Assembly. I'll see you soon in San Mateo, and you are invited to join us online or in Baltimore for GA 2025.